Welcome to a Thursday special edition of Democracy-ish. I am Danielle Moodie.
And I'm Wajahat, who looks like this because I'm a broken middle-aged man who took 500 children to Disneyland yesterday in Florida. I'm supposed to be on vacation, but of course the world is burning, Danielle. So here we are.
So, folks, today on this special edition of Democracy-ish, we have Representative Ro Khanna with us, and we are going to talk about the future of the Democratic Party, as well as many questions that we have on, impeachment, War Powers Act, etc. So without further ado, Waj, I'm going to bring Representative Ro Khanna on screen. You can do the honors of introducing him to our Democracy-ish audience.
This, of course, is Representative Ro Khanna, representative from California, 17th Congressional District since 2017. He is from my home state, and he is from the Bay Area. You all know I'm from the Bay, East Bay, and the honor is given to me by Danielle because all South Asians have to introduce South Asian representatives. I'm
Correct.
Here for it. Representative Khanna, there's a lot to talk about, and thank you for your time, right? We got this war in Iran, which allegedly there's a ceasefire, maybe not. We have this historic win of Zoran Mamdani, another South Asian man who is facing just obscene amount of smearing. We have, of course, the attack on women's rights today with the Supreme Court. We have the attack on U.S. citizens and immigrants vis-a-vis ICE. A lot to unpack. But I wanted to talk to you because many of us appreciated the fact that you were, along with Representative Massey, introduced a bipartisan resolution that sought to and still seeks to block Donald Trump from engaging in, unquote, unauthorized hostilities with Iran. And when asked about your bipartisan resolution that many Democrats supported, Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries said in a press conference just a few days ago, I haven't looked at it, before quickly moving on to the next question. Now, what we say, the majority, is if indeed Democrats are saying that Trump's strikes were illegal, that Trump shouldn't have done this, and you have introduced a bipartisan resolution, then why can't the Democratic leadership, Representative Khanna, be bothered to even look at the proposal?
Well, first of all, this country is united across progressives, conservatives, about us not being in another war in Iran or the Middle East. I mean, the last thing the country wants is to have more troops set in the Middle East, more of our money going there. They want us focused on affordability and the cost of living here at home. Now, I was very critical of Senator Schumer, who basically was not willing to bring up the War Powers Resolution for 1 week when we introduced it. In the Senate, it was led by Senator Kaine. And when I called him out multiple times, he changed his position. And then he said, okay, I'm going to back the Senate War Powers bill. Hakeem Jeffries now is supporting the idea of us getting a vote on the War Powers Resolution. But the reality is that there are too many people in our party who chair-led for the war in Iraq, who opposed Obama at every step when he got the JCPOA with Iran, who have chair-led for wars, whether they're in Libya or staying in Afghanistan. Many of them are on television. I don't understand how they keep putting Brett McGurk on television. Like, why is that guy relevant to anything anymore? And the Democratic Party needs a new generation, a party that's going to stand for peace abroad and investing in good jobs here at home. I'm not afraid to question and call out the establishment for failed policies that have disappointed many of the American people.
So where is Hakeem Jeffries on it right now? Because yes, even though there's allegedly a ceasefire, you and I both know, watching this, that this is escalating. And about that ceasefire, Iran and Israel, apparently no one gave them the notice as they were trading bombs. So where is Hakeem Jeffries and the Democratic leadership right now in supporting this resolution that would actually hold Donald Trump responsible for these illegal strikes?
They are supporting a vote on the War Powers Resolution. They understand that Donald Trump may strike again. By the way, Donald Trump has two sides in his on his shoulders. One side are the Lindsey Grahams, are saying regime change, regime change, regime change. The other side is Steve Bannon and Tucker Carlson saying we don't want more of these foreign wars. So at any point, he could start listening to the neocons again. And that's why we need to make sure that this passes. The Democrats now are supporting it. We need to get a vote on it in mid-July.
Let me ask if Danny, if I can, just two follow-ups on this. You know, in a conversation with friend Dave Sirota of The Lever, you said, quote, not supporting strikes on Iran should be the benchmark for all presidential candidates running in 2028. Quote, you mentioned the poll. YouGov poll said 85% of Americans are against this war, which is just a remarkable statistic. You mentioned Senator Schumer, who has been more hawkish than Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Why haven't Democrats been able to come out with a consistent anti-war message? And it's been 2 weeks, Representative Khanna.
Well, Senator Schumer has been more hawkish than Donald Trump. He was criticizing Donald Trump for negotiating with Iran when some of us were saying that Donald Trump should be negotiating. So he's been totally disconnected with not just what the grassroots of the party wants, what the country wants. And that's been the problem. We've got people in there who've been elected since the 1970s who were part of disastrous decisions going into war in Iraq, NAFTA that hollowed out the working and middle class, China's ascension into the World Trade Organization without protections for American workers. It supported the...
We lost your audios.
We opposed Obama when he was trying to... opposed Obama when he was trying to have the JCPOA. I was just listening. I don't know what...
Yeah, we got you.
We have people in the party that have consistently betrayed the working and middle class for overseas wars, and they need to step aside or be defeated for this party to really get connected again to working and middle class Americans.
Representative Khanna, last one, Danny, sorry, but I just want to say this is that, you know, speaking about betrayal and speaking about inconsistency, many of us feel the Democrats have been inconsistent, have betrayed fellow Democrats, right? You have Representative Greene. I just want to bring the receipts. When Donald Trump was doing his, whatever that was, State of the Union, I don't know what you call it, Danielle.
Joint session.
Yeah, State of the Bullshit. Representative Greene stood up, 7-year-old man, Democrat, with his cane, called out Donald Trump, right, for his lies about Medicaid and Social Security while Democrats were holding their paddles. 10 Democrats joined Republicans in censuring Representative Greene. Now, Democrats are saying this war is illegal, that Donald Trump had no authorization. The majority of Americans are against it. Representative Greene brings about articles of impeachment against Donald Trump over the illegal bombing of Iran's nuclear facilities. 130 Democrats joined to table the articles of impeachment. And Representative Khanna, I was shocked to see your name on that 130 because I thought, okay, even if it doesn't pass, you're the one that brought this bipartisan war resolution. I've appreciated you in the past week putting Senator Schumer to task. Why not support Representative Greene? Sure, it won't pass, but at least symbolically, why sign with 129 Democrats to table the articles of impeachment that he brought?
For two reasons. One, the standard can't just be the unconstitutionally strikes because we have to be morally and intellectually consistent. Obama's strikes in Libya were completely unconstitutional, and they actually backfired, sending a signal that if you agree to denuclearize, then America may still strike you. And by the way, Libya is a mess with civil war. Biden strikes on the Houthi ships, which I oppose, totally unconstitutional, hadn't come to Congress. So there are plenty of reasons that are impeachable offenses, but to say that we're going to use 1 day of strikes against Iran, which are totally unconstitutional, to be the means and justification would subject us to hypocrisy. And I think that the important thing right now, in my view, is to build a broader peace movement for the Democratic Party to lead that, but then also to bring in the 10, 20% of MAGA voters who we've lost, who don't want us to be in the Middle East and don't want us to have increased troops there. And I don't think this has to be an anti-Donald Trump issue. I think what we need to do as a party is to really offer what we're for. Not everything has to be defined oppositionally, and we need to be the party of opposed to wars overseas and for good jobs at home and dealing with the cost of living.
So, Representative, I appreciate that response, but what is very clear from the polling, what is very clear from actually talking to people on the streets, Democrats, is that Donald Trump, we're not just talking about introducing articles of impeachment on Donald Trump for what he's doing in Iran. We're talking about introducing impeachment articles of Donald Trump for what he's been doing in the United States that clearly goes against our Constitution, that clearly is about kidnapping people from their homes, on the street, in their places of business, has been essentially deputizing the Proud Boys and other white nationalist groups in order to increase the amount of violence against marginalized communities in this country. And so when you look at this, yes, I hear you when you're naming and listing out what Obama and what Biden has done, but there is no comparison in the domestic terrorism that Donald Trump has been creating in this country. And so when you take that into consideration and you see the millions of people in the No Kings protest that came out in this country and around the world, how is it that you can sit conscionably and say, oh, now is not the time to introduce articles of impeachment and show the people of this country and people around the world how serious it is, the crimes that Donald Trump is committing?
Well, I totally agree with you. The total violation of every constitutional right when you massed ICE agents tackling even American citizens, detaining people without due process, violating individual civil liberties. I voted against the Lake and Riley Act. I was because when a lot of other Democrats rushed to support the Lake and Riley Act, because I believe people here should have due process. And if the articles of impeachment were considering standing up for our civil liberties and saying that we can't overreach on matters of the Constitution and deport people without due process, then that would be a very different matter. But that was not what that article of impeachment was. That article of impeachment, if you read it, was saying he should be impeached for the Iran strikes. Now, if you want to, if someone wants to bring through the Judiciary Committee and others articles about the corruption with the crypto trades or issues that go to the heart of attacks on universities, attacks on law firms, attacks on institutions, that I think is a totally different thing, and one that I very much would consider supporting. This was specific to Iran.
So let me ask you this, because you speak a lot, and Democrats in general talk a lot about hypocrisy and wanting to be the quote unquote adults in the room. And a list came out earlier this week and late last week with regard to Democrats and Republicans that hold stock in Palantir that has been involved in the kidnapping of American and also undocumented people in this country. Palantir was also a co-sponsor of sorts of Donald Trump's military birthday parade to make America look more like North Korea than it is the America that we all know. On that list was your name. And I want to give you the opportunity to explain to us and those that are really on the fence now about the Democratic Party as a whole, because when I am seeing Democrats on a list for a organization, a company that is backed by Peter Thiel, a known white nationalist, a company that is about cruelty, I see deep hypocrisy there. So I want to give you the opportunity to explain that piece to our audience and frankly to us.
Sure. I mean, that I've been very, very outspoken about Palantir. I have spoken out against any database. I just did a whole interview on Theo Von. I've called for an Internet Bill of Rights. I have said that we should not have any of our data being taken in a way that is unconstitutional. And if you look at the record of people who have actually spoken out very, very strongly against the violation of civil liberties from companies, I introduced a lot of the Internet Bill of Rights. So my view is that what we need in this country is legislation to hold the government accountable and hold tech companies accountable. So you cannot have a situation where people are scraping data, building profiles, and I will continue to advocate very strongly for that.
But can I do a follow-up, Danielle, real quick?
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate that, Representative Khanna. I look forward to more Democrats speaking out against Palantir, which, in addition to being just perhaps one of the most sordid, disgusting companies co-funded by Peter Thiel, which has openly and publicly celebrated their role in helping Israel commit genocide, has a multi-million-dollar contract with the Trump administration to essentially surveil Americans, right? But it's not the only company, right? It's not the only company that many Democrats and Republicans are benefiting from. In April, during Trump's, quote, Liberation Day, you and several Democrats made hundreds of stock trades, right? It was about a dozen Democrats. Specifically, you led with the pack of Democrats with sales of more than 200 shares and options and the purchase of more than 110 securities. Now, how do you reconcile this contradiction with you and others saying, oh, you know what, there should be restrictions on elected officials trading stocks, and then you're the one who comes out and is leading the pack with more than 200 shares and options and the purchase of more than 110 securities? I have to ask this question because here you are saying, you know what? Yeah, elected officials, they shouldn't trade stocks. But then we see Ro Khanna, the one who's open to that, leading the way. Do you understand why so many of us are like, what can we trust here?
Well, no, I think the Wall Street Journal did a very fair article. They said there were no conflicts. It was compliant with every other federal official. And what I've said is I'm against trading of stocks. That's very different than the arrangement that was an independent trust. And I would just encourage people to read the article and to look at my record, where I've supported against every defense budget. I have been consistent in standing up for matters of war and peace. And I have been consistent in standing up for civil liberties. But that article I thought was very fair, and it explains very clearly the situation.
But the question is not necessarily about whether, no one is saying that you were in any way doing anything that was illegal in terms of the stock trade. What we're talking about here is about morality. And I think that if Democrats want to somehow appeal to the public with a moral higher ground, then you wouldn't be in business or making profit from companies that are causing undue harm. So for instance, right, I'm not in the same realm, in the same space as you. But for instance, for me, I said, you know what can I do as my part? Well, Target has done away with DEI, their investment into diversity, equity, and inclusion. They take queer people and Black people's money by day and then vote against their interests by supporting representatives and policies that harm them by night. And so I've decided to not spend my money at Target or not spend my money at an Amazon. And so my question here is that if Democrats don't want to be seen as hypocritical and want to somehow forge a path forward with being the moral holders, right, of the values of this country, how do you justify being able to do so while also making money off of ill will?
Well, I think that anyone who has invested in a mutual fund or extensive index funds knows that it's a complex thing that has a lot of hundreds and thousands of companies. Now, I guess someone could say, well, divest from every single thing in a mutual fund. I don't believe that that's the bar for public officials. I think the point should be that there should be no stock trading, and that policymakers should have to be in a trust, which is diversified, and then you look at people's record. And my record has been one opposing increases in the defense budget, standing up for civil liberties, standing up for a whole host of progressive policies, and and there not been conflicts, and my record shows that.
Go ahead.
Waj, I want to change topics from this, but staying in the same vein in terms of trying to have a moral high ground and hypocrisy. We watched several weeks ago as Donald Trump and his largest benefactor, Elon Musk, who spent $290 million in order to buy the presidency, got into a public dispute, right? Where they were going back and forth on both of their broke down social media platforms, seemingly showing the fissures inside of the party. You, among other folks, were vocal about wanting to bring Elon Musk back into the fold of the Democratic Party. And I have to tell you, was appalled, because there is nothing that Elon Musk has done, has offered, has said that would show that he shares any type of values that the Democratic Party espouses. And so I'm curious as to why you have made mention that we should try and bring him back into the fold. Like, what's the thinking and the reasoning there?
I voted to subpoena him, first of all, just as a record, and to come in front of the Oversight Committee. And I have been very clear, if you look at my Substack, that we shouldn't be welcoming him back into the Democratic Party. I have never taken $1 from Elon Musk. I don't think he should be spending money on our elections. I led with Summer Lee the bill to overturn super PACs. What I said is that Twitter was targeting speech that was opposed to Democrats and opposed to the vice president, and that if we could have Musk have the platform more focused on pointing out where he disagrees with Donald Trump on issues about not banning international students, about issues of not attacking universities, about issues of not taking away electric credits and on the blanket tariffs, then that would be helpful so that the platform that has millions of people isn't skewed against us, and that we should have a dialogue to say that Musk, can we get that platform to be neutral? But I never suggested that he should either be part of the Democratic Party or that we should take money from him, or nor have I ever taken money. But if we, I see no problem in trying to have a conversation to make that platform more neutral where it's skewed against us.
I appreciate that clarification, but speaking about that consistency, speaking about the rest of us saying, you know what, we don't need the worst of the worst to come to the Democratic Party, like Elon Musk, who did double Sieg Heils and promoted Nazi conspiracies. In New York, the Democratic establishment went all in for a sexual predator, Andrew Cuomo, right? And 40% of his allies that came on were the people who rejected him a few years ago. Representative Clyburn went in for Andrew Cuomo. Bill Clinton went in for Andrew Cuomo. You had the New York Times for Cuomo. You had Palantir CEO for Cuomo. You had Lawrence Summers for Cuomo. All because there's this man, Zohran Mamdani, a Democratic socialist, anti-war for the people, who was running. And New York came out resoundingly and said, you know what? We'll take the Democratic Socialist, Representative Khanna. So many Americans, and Danielle's a New Yorker, were so disgusted by the fact that Bill Clinton, I mean, you cannot say Democratic establishment without Bill Clinton, right? Came out for Andrew Cuomo, right? And so I want to ask you that, right? How should Americans regain trust with the Democratic Party, which right now has its lowest favorability rating since 1994? You saw the Quinnipiac poll that came out 2 weeks ago. Donald Trump was at 38%. Democrats are at 29%. And even after that poll, they said, I see where the winds are blowing. I won't go with Zohran. I'll try to crush him and come in with Cuomo. Your response to those who feel so betrayed and disgusted by an establishment that went not just for the wrong guy, but for a predator in Andrew Cuomo?
Well, Zohran won. I think that we have to focus on the positives. We have to focus on building a movement. And if you look at Zohran's campaign, a lot of it was a positive campaign. It was talking about people's affordability. It was talking about grocery stores, free buses, rent. It wasn't just a campaign of distrust. I think what people want is a hopeful campaign, an aspirational campaign that speaks to their real issues, and to call out the establishment that has not been there. And that's that many people didn't support Andrew Cuomo, including me, and we're for change. And so I think what we do is we build and encourage new candidates that Zohran's victory will.
You didn't. I'm sorry. I don't know if you misspoke. Yeah. You said you supported Cuomo. I think did you support?
No, he said he didn't. He said he did not. He did not.
Wanted to double check.
Representative, I want to say this too. The Democrat, the establishment, has been in the press, right? We saw David Hogg and Malcolm Kenyatta pushed out, right, of the DNC. We see again with Cuomo and the backing of him by establishments. And even though, right, he won by 43% the primary, Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, and other establishment Democrats have congratulated him, but haven't endorsed him. And many are seeing his win, Mamdani's win, as a seismic shift inside of the party. That there has been a fracturing that has been happening for quite some time with younger voices of color that are coming in and that want actual real change. and believe that maybe it is time for a new party. Maybe it is time, because while the Democrats have always seen themselves as having this big tent, they don't necessarily hold the same values as workers and the protections that workers need. They have continually thrown the most marginalized under the bus when it doesn't serve them, and I'm speaking particularly of the trans community. So when people are saying maybe Democrats don't get it and it's time for a new party, what is your response to them?
I don't know how they would be saying that after last night. I mean, Zoran won. He won on a Democratic platform. The point is that the Democratic Party can be rebuilt into a party for working class folks. It can be rebuilt into a party that stands up for affordability. And that is something that is a much more effective way of bringing change. That's why I supported Bernie Sanders twice, to help rebuild the party. And I think Zoran's victory shows that it's a very achievable thing.
I want to ask a final question here, and if you have time for Danielle's final question, that'd be fantastic. But we want to respect your time, and thank you for coming. I always respect you, Ro Khanna, for coming in. Easy questions, hard questions. You come in, at least you talk to us. Many people don't, so that is appreciated. The terrorism that has been unleashed by the Trump administration. Speaking about the marginalized communities, the people that everyone's forgotten, the undocumented immigrants, right? It's not just the undocumented anymore. It's pregnant women. It's workers, it's legal immigrants, it's union leaders. ICE is now a modern Gestapo, masked agents with weapons terrorizing Americans. And you know that Donald Trump said that what he's doing in LA, he's going to expand to other blue states, right? For some reason, he didn't mention Florida or Texas. We're seeing in real time fellow Americans being kidnapped and renditioned to El Salvador. And now the Supreme Court said they can even go to Sudan and other countries. We're seeing the abolishment of due process, of habeas corpus. And so I ask you, Representative Khanna, isn't it time for Democrats to loudly and proudly campaign on abolishing ICE? Why do we need ICE, which is terrorizing fellow Americans and did not exist until the war on terror, right? We're fine with getting rid of Department of Education. We're fine with getting rid of USAID. I need to hear Democrats say abolish ICE. Where are you on this?
I disagree with you on that. I think that we can protect constitutional rights and make sure that people have due process while still having the ICE agents. I don't think that you need to abolish them. I think what you need to do is make sure that due process is followed, the Constitution is followed. This is why I voted against the Lake and Riley Act, which would violate the Constitution. And what you see today is the violation of constitutional norms, the disregarding of district judges. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't have immigration enforcement in this country.
But does immigration enforcement, and this is my final question, should immigration enforcement come at the expense of safety and rights? Because we're talking about the disruption of full and complete communities, right? We're talking about masked agents, right? Like, should law enforcement be able to be unidentified, masked, no badges, plates that are ghost plates, thrown people into backs of van, pick people up off of the streets? This is that does not go along with public safety and protecting the public. And so when we're talking about abolishing ICE, it is abolishing this thug-like Gestapo. And so what does a reform to that look like when this is now the norm?
Well, we should not have masked ICE agents. We should not have people who are violating rights and violating norms. And the response to that has to be the courts. The response to that has to be a Congress that stands up for civil liberties and civil justice. The response to that has to be no kings-like protests and marches. But we can have two thoughts in this country, and that is that we have constitutional rights, we have a constitutional protection. We shouldn't have masked officers, but that we still can have law enforcement for public safety or to uphold the immigration law. And I believe that is a balance that Democrats can be for. To say that you believe ICE has a role does not mean that you believe that they can unconstitutionally violate the rights of people.
Representative Khanna, thank you for always coming on. Come back anytime. We appreciate you taking the hard balls and some of the softballs. You are a U.S. representative from California's 17th Congressional District, my hometown, the Bay Area. Oh, yeah. Are you running in 2028? It's a safe space. You can tell us. It's just me and Danielle.
I'm working to get us the house back, But the anti-war issues, I think, are critical to the Democratic Party, to standing up against war in the Middle East and being for building jobs back at home.
Please tell that to Representative Jeffries and Senator Schumer and give them that YouGov poll that said 85% of Americans are against war with Iran, and yesterday's CBS and CNN poll that said a majority of Americans oppose Donald Trump's strikes in Iran. And you and I and Danielle, we're old enough to remember the disastrous war on terror. So let's hope enough of our elected officials learn from the mistakes of the past and the fact that the wars in the Middle East have brought nothing but pain and destruction. And maybe we can save some young lives and young generations from all that trauma. Representative Khanna, thank you so much for your time. You stayed longer than we said we'd keep you, but you're a trooper. I appreciate it.
We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, Wajahat.
Well, let's wait for Representative Khanna to exit. He's leaving. He's gone. He's trying to figure out the internets. Thank you all for also your comments. We were reading them. We appreciate it. So your take, Danielle.
My take is that the Democrats have a lot of work to do. I think that, Representative Ro Khanna is a politician. And what I will say, I will say this. I appreciate him coming to a space that is not a great job, softball questions type of space. So I will say I appreciate that. However, I have to say that I know what a mutual fund is. I have a 401k. I also know how to sit down with my financial advisors and tell them what I don't want my money invested in. So that's not hard to do. So it's really difficult for me to listen to him say, well, I vote against this and I vote against that, but, I got to get paid. It's basically what the response to the Palantir question was. So I was like, okay, got it.
It's when someone said you accept it as non-answers, folks, listen, it's not accepting the non-answers. Our job is to ask questions and do the follow-ups. But then after a while, you also heard the non-answer. It's clear. So I personally don't think we let him off easy in that one, but you heard it for yourself, right? We asked him, and I would say, well, if it's unethical, you don't have to make 200 transactions. You don't have to trade stocks, right?
Sure don't.
You don't have to make those moves during Liberation Day, right? When you know the market's going to be volatile. And there was about a dozen Democrats who joined with the Republicans in making all these moves, right? And even though it's legal, I'm glad, Danielle, you said that, right? We didn't accuse them of being
I want to be very clear. I'm not accusing you of illegality. You disclosed, unlike our Supreme Court justice, you disclosed where your money is going. I'm just saying, if we're going to be talking about hypocrisy,
that's right.
Right. And not wanting to be the hypocrite and not wanting the Democratic Party to be hypocrites, then you have to justify the things that you are doing because you are talking out of both sides of your mouth. Right. And so, and I wanted to get your thoughts on his response to the impeachment questions. Right. Because, he's like, well, the impeachment was about Iran, this, that, and the other thing. I'm like, sir, but you know better. Like, give us a break on telling me, well, if somebody were to bring impeachment on all of the other Mount Everests of criminality that this administration has been involved in over the last 6 months, then maybe I'd consider voting for it. Why aren't you the one bringing the articles?
Yeah.
So what did you make of his response to that?
He did say the Judiciary Committee. So what he said was, I was going to ask him that follow-up exactly what you said, but then he kind of, I don't want to say himself, but he punted it. He said, well, if the Judiciary Committee and if someone from the Judiciary Committee, brings it up, then I'll do it, which then we got to get someone from the Judiciary Committee, right? Because I believe what Donald Trump has done, just like you, against our fellow Americans and American residents and immigrants is worthy of impeachment, right? If you are kidnapping 238 brown men and sending them to die in a foreign prison, impeachment. If you're perfectly fine unleashing the military and National Guard and masked ICE agents to go without warrants and arrest and terrorize people, including children that are showing up at schools, impeachment, right? And this is why I think, Danielle, and look, folks, I appreciate the criticism even against me and Danielle, right? You have a limited amount of window, and you do what you can. And if you want to keep focusing on a few things, what I would have done also is like, well, with the war, right? Why did 130 Democrats vote against impeachment? I'm glad he mentioned Obama, but I think he gave you the tell, right? Because this is what's going to happen. Since the war on terror, there's been the authorization to use military force that has been used and abused by Republicans and Democrats. And if Democrats win, guess what? They also want to have the ability to unilaterally strike, whether it's Libya or Iran and another country, and they don't want to be impeached, Danielle, right? So it was kind of like a wink, wink. Hey, we won't impeach on this. This is bad politics. Why? Because the war machine in America wants the right, the freedom, the AUMF to do it to another brown country, regardless if it's Democrats or Republicans, Danielle.
Yeah, it's just, it's extraordinary. Like when you can say, for instance, that Chuck Schumer is more of a war hawk than like Trump is. It is like, it's obscene, but it's accurate. And I think that, we have to really, as people, as an audience right now of folks, 1,200 folks that are watching us, we really have to ask ourselves the hard questions about what we see as our involvement in this Democratic Party moving forward. Like, and I mean that, like, I am having my own real deep, crisis of consciousness, because I'm just like, I don't know if I can literally still call myself a proud Democrat when I am watching this party align itself in so many ways with Trumpism just to appease the status quo. Whether that is war in Iran, where that like everybody isn't on the side of no war, right? Where that folks are making money off of war, where there is just as many war hawks in the Democratic Party as there are in the Republican Party. And yet you think that the people are going to see some nuance between the two parties. This is why millions and billions of people stayed home in 2024. Kamala Harris didn't make a differentiator between herself and Biden on Gaza, right? She didn't say, you know what, when I have an opportunity to look at this from my own vantage point with clear eyes, that like everyone in the world has a right to self-determination, to autonomy, right? To their full and complete humanity. And we need to have serious conversations like that. She didn't do that. So when people say like, oh, you get what you vote for, you get what you don't vote for, I want you to understand that there are some people that actually know, and they've made a conscious decision. I don't agree with it because I think voting matters. But like when you look and you lay out side by side Democrats and Republicans, particularly on foreign affairs issues, where do you see the differences?
I mean, and I think this is, folks, I'm supposed to be on vacation. Look at me. I went to Disneyland yesterday. Look at me. Just look at this. Just look at this. All right. And Danielle, I got some quotes that I wanted to ask him. I sent it to Danielle in the morning. Danielle was like, huh? We're doing this Thursday? Okay. And then Danielle was like, I'm like, Danielle, did you see that Google Doc? She goes, what? And then 3 minutes before Ro came on, she goes, oh, okay.
Got it.
And so we didn't have like a coordinated plan, right? This was me and Danielle just going back and forth. And we didn't say, we're going to get him on this and that and this and that. Although Danielle did really want to ask him about Elon Musk and stocks. And I really wanted to ask him about, this war and Hakeem Jeffries and this, the fact that he voted against impeachment. But what the theme that came out, right? And I'm now stepping out of the interview and just listening to the theme now, replaying it in my head. I think what you and I were really upset about, and even the community was upset about, is this inconsistency.
Yes.
Right? There's Ro. He said some good, and he's done some good things, right? Like I
Right.
praised him publicly when he brought out that bipartisan war resolution. I criticized him when he said, I want to reach out to Elon Musk. I criticize him when it comes to the stocks. I praise him when he went after Schumer, right? But the inconsistency, how can you say, well, Zoran Mamdani won, didn't he? Well, yeah, but the Democratic establishment went for Cuomo. They went for a sexual predator that they threw under the bus 4 years ago, right? How can you say we're the anti-war party, but your leader, Hakeem Jeffries, when asked about your resolution, says, I haven't gone time to it? How can you say, yeah, we're against stock trading, that's unethical, but we're trading stocks? This is the divide. This is the divide, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
what we're seeing is the Democratic Party, instead of changing and reforming, what we've talked about all the time, Danielle, instead of embracing the wait for it, woke, instead of embracing its shadow, which is black, what are they doing, Danielle? They're trying to play both sides. And as Danielle says, the American people, they're saying, miss me with the bullshit. You can't do the both sides anymore. You're seeing the schizophrenia of the Democratic Party in real time, which is why their favorability rating is 29 to 27%, Danielle. And this is why you need someone to just look. I'm at this position right now, especially what we're seeing with Zoran. Right before we press live, Danielle, you're a New Yorker. I said, Danielle, they're going after Zoran. My God. And can you tell them what you told me, which gave you a little bit of hope, and just using New York as a microcosm?
This is what I'll say, which does give me hope. And folks, that I'm not like delirious, right? Like I'm probably like the most cynical person. But the fact is that they are going after Zoran. They're using some of the, ripest 9/11 Islamophobia that like is just, disgusting. And what we can say is that, like, it ain't just Republicans. Laura Loomer may be telling Trump, oh, go ahead and arrest Zoran for being Muslim and brown. But the fact is that Cuomo's campaign thickened his beard, darkened his face, and we know that the attacks are going to continue, because I guarantee you that the Democratic establishment is going to be pouring money into Adams, right, running as an independent, just so that a Democratic socialist and a Muslim young man doesn't become the mayor of New York City. But here's where my hope lies. People in New York, this is not the fucking Midwest, okay? This is not like checked out people. People in New York are sick and tired of being fucking lied to. People in New York are tired of the gaslight. They know the game. We were here, right, with 9/11. We have Muslim friends. We have Black and brown and Jewish friends and queer friends. We know the games that are being played. And that's why it was such an overwhelming point of joy this week when he was nominated, because it was just like, can we do it, knowing the games that these parties play, both Republicans and Democrats. So I believe the smear campaign is going to get worse. It's going to be more intense, but these motherfuckers poured more money, Waj, into this mayoral race, into Cuomo's pocket, than has ever gone into a mayoral race ever. And they didn't win. The people of New York are ready for change. They are ready for change. And if anybody knows bullshit, it's New Yorkers. So that's where I'm holding my faith.
No, seriously. And, you see them trying to divide Muslims and Jews, Arabs and Jews around Israel. I don't think it's working. I know people are loud. I know there's the AIPACs and the ADLs and the Batars and the right wing, right, and the Loomers. But a lot of Jews voted for Mamdani. And a lot of Jews are like, nope, we don't buy this. We don't think he's anti-Semitic, even though we might agree or disagree about his positions on Israel. But no, we like what he's selling for New York, right? You saw Brad Lander come out and join him, New York City comptroller, one of the heroes of this, right? A Jewish American who cross-endorsed Zoran, and the fact that he's quashing that as well, right? If indeed, God forbid, Zoran Mamdani was that anti-Semitic, I don't think Brad Lander, a proud Jewish American man, would cross-endorse him. So you're seeing every dirty tactic that is being pulled out, right? They're equating 9/11 with Zoran Mamdani. 9/11 with Zoran Mamdani, which is what they've done to Ilhan Omar.
So, and I just want to say, Zoran Mamdani is 33. So how old was he? How old was he?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he was what? 10, 10. But it
10.
doesn't. But this is what racism does.
But I just want to show people how fucking absurd. He was 10 years old when 9/11 happened. But it doesn't matter because he's brown and Muslim.
And yeah, I was talking to Eddie about this yesterday, Eddie Glaude. I didn't talk to Danielle about the double standards. I mean, the double standards. The questions that Zoran has asked about Israel, no one has asked, no Jewish American politician or a politician who supports Benjamin Netanyahu is asked, do you support war crimes? Do you support the genocide? Does that mean you hate Palestinians? Does that mean you're racist against Arabs and Muslims, right? Yet Zoran, even on Stephen Colbert, was asked these questions. That's the double standard, folks. That's the double standard that people don't realize. People of color, Black people, Muslims have to live with all the time. Barack Obama, Kamala Harris. And he pulled it off beautifully. And he gave excellent answers without compromising on his principles or throwing Palestinians under the bus. But look how exhausting it is. Look how exhausting it is, Danielle, right? And yet he keeps doing it. He keeps knocking it out of the park. And they must be so frustrated, Danielle. I don't know. I don't follow all the hate markers all the time, even though I'm a masochist and I do. I didn't realize Deborah Messing, who was the actress on Will and Grace.
Yeah.
I never saw the show, but I know her. Deborah Messing, folks, has lost her mind. She's the one that promoted that insane tower being burned in 9/11 in Jihad when it came to Mamdani. Deborah Messing has gone loco.
Like, she's gone crazy. And the crazy thing is, she used to follow me. She used to follow me on Instagram, follow me on Twitter, and like used to repost my clips to her. And then October 7th, and she lost her fucking mind. And this is what happens. This is, and it was such a disappointment, and it is such a disappointment because you begin to now see the depths of Zionism and how they again have tried to braid Zionism into Judaism so that you can't have any nuance or conversation thereof, because then you're anti-Semitic. And so I appreciate Brad Lander and other Jewish folks that come out and say, not in my name, right? Not in my name and not in my faith, because that's the kind of unity. What we saw in New York City with this primary race is the kind of unity that we need going forward.
And I also will say, yesterday I went, instead of sleeping, I went down this rabbit hole, Danielle, where I Googled, of course, I Googled Deborah Messing on Twitter, and I just saw all these people just flame her. And then, I was like, must learn more. And they're like, Deborah's just been a hot mess for a while. I'm on team Megan Mullally, the actress who was on Will and Grace. Megan Mullally.
Mohan. What is her name? She played Karen.
No disrespect to the actress. She's really good. Mullally. She was really good, and she's married to Nick Offerman. And apparently they have great politics. Nick Offerman, I knew, has great politics. So I went down this rabbit hole, and then I realized Deborah Messing had beef with Megan, and that apparently everyone's on team Megan. And because Megan has great politics, and then in the reboot of Will and Grace, Deborah became even worse. Lynn said I said it correctly. Thank you.
Yes, Lynn said it. And everybody's like, he said it right. I was like, okay.
This is what happens. Instead of sleeping, I'm like, I need to find out the source of Deborah.
Your wife needs to take your phone.
But I need to find out the source of Deborah's radicalization. But she's been on it for a while. And then I think October 7th made her full cycle. But the double standards, folks, in entertainment, right? In entertainment and media, which I guess, Danielle and I used to be in more as a writer, as a playwright, but we're still kind of in the scene. Can you imagine, Danielle, what would happen if you or me did that post? Nothing's going to happen to Deborah Messing. Nope. Nothing happened to Amy Schumer. Melissa Barrera, folks, I keep track. Melissa Barrera, Latina, the face of the lucrative Scream reboot. The first two movies made so much money, her and Jenny Ortega, that they greenlit the third movie. It was going to make mint, okay? Melissa Barrera, a year ago, posts an article written by a Jewish American scholar on genocide, calling what's happening in Gaza a genocide. You know what happened to her? They knocked her out of the lucrative Scream franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Melissa Barrera, who are you and me? We ain't nobody, right?
Mm-hmm.
And nothing happens to Deborah Messing. I'm just showing you how it's all connected, folks, right? It's all connected. The inconsistency of it all, the inconsistency of who gets to shoot from the hip, who gets to drop the F-bomb during a presser and say, these effing countries better. Can you imagine if Barack Obama dropped the F-bomb?
Barack Obama couldn't wear a tan suit. His daughters couldn't wear 2-strand twists. Do you know what I'm saying? Like you want to talk about the inconsistency is insane. And I think that it's so important. I know that it gets exhausting for us to continually call it out, but it has to be called out. Otherwise, it is completely and totally normalized. Like, I don't understand, to your point, why is it that then every white person, every Jewish person that gets on television, you're not so you make them say, I don't support war crimes and I don't support genocide. Just in the same way that every time there is some type of act of violence against Black people, the Black community must come out and say, oh, I support peace, right? Like, oh, please, peace in the streets.
You must condemn like every violent action done by people.
Because we become the mouthpieces and are made the mouthpieces through white delusional thinking of whatever marginalized group we're a part of. And I am going to start doing that same shit to white people. Because it's like, because to them, it'll be like, well, I'm not. Okay, so me neither. So stop asking stupid fucking questions.
Like Vance Bolter, out of the news, Danielle. Out of the news.
Been saying it. Yep. Yeah. Vance Bolter, remember, everybody remember? You know, assassinated folks 2 weeks ago. Had a hit list of 70 people, killed a representative and her husband and their golden retriever, lying in state tomorrow. And maybe his name will come up, but probably not. Because why? He's not Black, he's not brown, he's not undocumented, and he's not trans.
Folks, we try to bring the receipts. Before, we leave in a couple of minutes, I did have to ask Danielle about this breaking news because when she jumped on, she's like, I haven't even read the news. What's happening?
Just like what?
I gave her like 3 different things, like bang, bang, bang. The Supreme Court, this is why elections matter, folks. The Supreme Court, 6 of these right-wing extremists in black robes, I have no problem saying it, have paved the way for states to defund Planned Parenthood, ruling Medicaid patients cannot sue for non-abortion care. The case addressed whether a provision of the Federal Medicaid Act allows individuals to sue for access to their provider of choice. It was brought by a woman who wants South Carolina to resume Medicaid funding to Planned Parenthood for non-abortion healthcare. And in a 6-3 decision with Amy Coney Barrett, they said, nah. And a person who's trying to save her legacy, I think just for posterity, who wrote a dissent, Sotomayor. So today was another horrific day for 51% of the population, women. Danielle.
Yeah, I mean, women are going to continue to die.
There you go.
Right? We women are going to continue to die. People want to believe, oh, it's going to be The Handmaid's Tale. No, that's been here. And also, if you are a Black woman or an Indigenous woman, The Handmaid's Tale has been a documentary, has been reality for too many. There is a war and has been a war on women that is waged by the right wing. They see us and our bodies as nothing more than incubators, right? And that you can look at the case in Georgia of the Black woman who was now just finally taken off of life support after being forced to birth via C-section a 1-pound baby because her family couldn't take her off of life support because of Georgia's rules on abortion. She was brain dead, pronounced brain dead in February. So, we need to continue to be out in the streets. I continue to call for the organization of a national strike. I continue to say that nothing in this country is going to get better until we shut this shit down. Because at the end of the day, what we have been complicit in is in the incremental erosion of our rights. And now they are taking a hacksaw to it. knowing that they believe that we don't have any recourse, Waj, but I believe that we, the people, do have recourse. We can shut this shit down. And that's the power that I want folks to understand, that collectively, when we decide enough is enough, when we decide that we don't want the sexual predator in office, when we decide that we are done, magical things happen.
Yep.
Right? Hope happens. Faith happens. Right? So I believe that things will continue to get worse until the people have had enough.
I agree. And Ro Khanna, I just got a message from his staffer who said he loved the show, loved being on, and asked for a link. So
we'll send it to him when it goes
I said,
up.
no problem. I said, thanks for coming. My take on this is, folks, that if you're a Democrat watching, if you're an elected official, come on our show. We try to be fair. We'll give you space. We didn't interrupt him. We asked him questions. I think we asked him some fair questions, tough questions, but fair questions, right? And we gave him space to respond, and we'll do that to anybody. We're not going to kiss the ring. We're not going to bend the knee. We're not going to kiss anybody's ass, right? If you do good, we'll praise you. If we feel like you're being inconsistent and the people demand answers, we'll ask the questions for the people. So anyone who's watching, elected official, Democrat or Republican, come on our show. Danielle,
I don't know. You can go on Waj's show for the Republicans, but
not every Republican, but Danielle might be you'll just see Danielle just doing that.
Whoa. Right.
She'll give the auntie stank eye, and then after the Republican's gone, she goes, folks, this is Democracy-ish. I'm supposed to be on vacation. Danielle's supposed to be relaxing. It's completely independent, which is why we could have asked the questions we asked of Representative Ro Khanna today, right? We're not beholden to any corporation. I don't even have stocks, but I have like a 401k, and that was because I worked with Al Jazeera. So thank you, Al Jazeera, for letting me actually you put money in that 401k for 2 years. We are not beholden to the 1%, to corporations, to corporate donors, to the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. We're beholden to our viewers and our readers and the majority. This is a reader-supported, viewer-supported show, Democracy-ish, which is live every Monday and Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern time. Although I don't know if I could do it tomorrow because my children might drag me.
We're giving Waj the day off tomorrow, folks. We're giving Waj the day off. This was a special edition on Thursday. Waj is not working tomorrow, 12 p.m. Eastern. So just FYI.
My kids might be dragging me to Hollywood. God kill me, Hollywood Land or something. It's fine. I've gone so many times. Hollywood Studios. It's fun. It's Star Wars stuff. It'll be fine. But
it's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. I'm having a great time. But what we're saying is you should see Danielle. Yesterday, I've done this so many times. It's the kids, it's fun, but you should see the parents. We were there till 12 o'clock, Disneyland in Florida. Parents just broken. There was this one Latino man, just muscular, big guy. I just saw him like this, and I'm like, the children broke this man. This old school man, just his face, the look of pain, not even pain, just when you're dead inside.
Exhaustion.
Exhaustion. But folks, listen. All the people who gave these $10, thank you, Stephanie. Thank you for appreciating the interview. I could have done better. Danielle was on fire. I'm tired. Sorry, but Danielle brought the A game.
No,
mine was fantastic. B. Joyce, thank you for the 20. Valerie, the 19. All this goes a long way. So if you're watching right now, Danielle has 25,000 subscribers. She started from 0. We're trying to get her to 30,000. I actually have a YouTube. I didn't even realize. I have 10,000.
Over 10,000, by the way. Humble brag. Waj doesn't even use his YouTube, really. And he has 10,000 followers.
I just put everything there for free. So all my interviews there are for free, and people are seeming to enjoy them. So click the bell, become a free subscriber. That's how their algorithm works, folks. I know it sounds crazy, but the more Danielle gets, 25 was a huge threshold. Yes, 10 was a nice threshold. The more you get 25, 30, 35, 40, folks, the more YouTube promotes the show, and the more this content goes global, and the more Danielle might actually get some money and buy her a coffee.
Buy more expensive coffee.
So all the people who gave money, thank you. So E Schwartz always comes in with the $2. SHK, thanks. That's the tip button. underneath the video right now on YouTube. It goes a long way. Please spread the word. And also, Danielle, tell them about our Substacks.
Yeah, so right now we're on Waj's Substack, The Left Hook. So if you have not subscribed there, he is like over 72,000 subscribers that are there. Does not believe in paywalls, but if you have the ability to pay monthly and become a paid subscriber, but know you'll never be blocked from anything if you don't pay, go to The Left Hook and subscribe. And also, my Substack is The Damn Digest. Again, hit that button, subscribe. All of my content is free as well. But if you have the ability to become a paid monthly subscriber, we appreciate it. And it goes a long way to helping us create the kind of content that you guys deserve. Like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video as soon as it goes up. My friend Wajahat.
Look at this, Barb, with your coffee. That was for your coffee.
Yeah, thank you, Barb. So Waj, enjoy the rest of Florida. Have fun with the kids. I hope that they are enjoying themselves and you guys are creating tons and tons and tons of memories. Folks, this has been Democracy-ish. We will be back on Monday, 12 p.m. Eastern, so that Waj can have a break for the day. I appreciate each and every single one of you. And
can I just uplift my kid for a second? This is a dad one. So my son, it's really interesting. The boys, right, they're with their cousins. So we were just joking. The boys, when it comes to roller coasters, they're just like, is this a good idea? I don't know. How many loops does it have? Are you sure, right? And so the two boys, we dragged them to Tron. We're like, you're going. Me and my brother-in-law, we're like, you're going. Like this is it, right? So both my son and his cousin, they're like, are you sure? My son's like, I think we should turn back. He goes, how many loops does it have, right? And I'm like, what the F, man? No, and I said, no son of mine, no kids of mine are gonna be scared of roller coasters. You have to confront your fears, right? Now my daughter's Danielle, right? Mm-hmm. My 5-year-old Khadija, freak show. Like we put her on a roller coaster, looks up right next to me afterwards. He goes, I want to go again, Papa. Like, I'm like, who are you? She goes, that was awesome. So then my son sits on Tron, eyes closed. I felt so bad. I'm like, son, open your eyes. He goes, no, Baba, no. Tron just takes off. You're on these bikes super fast. You just you get shot like a cannon for a minute, right? At the end, my son goes, Baba, that was great. Thank you, God, for on his own. Thank you, God, for giving me this opportunity to confront my fears. I'm so grateful that I did it. I'm like, who is this guy? I felt like hugging him. And I'm like, Ibrahim, I'm so proud of you. He goes, I'm so happy. I had an opportunity to confront my fears and you were right. And that was so fun. Who is this kid, Danielle?
Oh my God. You and your wife raised wonderful, wonderful babies. I love that story so much.
I told my wife, I'm like, that's just a sweet kid. He goes, Baba, you were right. I don't know why I was scared, but you're right. I confronted it and that was fun. And so I'm like, yeah, I'm so weak. I'm like, I must buy you a toy. And then my wife's like, no, you shouldn't. But I'm like, I already promised, so I got to buy him toy. I'm sorry for rambling. I just thought that was a nice little win yesterday. That's and my amazing. Psychotic daughter, 5 years old, Baba, let's go
again. I love that's amazing. All right, folks. Waj, go enjoy your family. We appreciate you. We appreciate all of you for tuning in to Democracy-ish. We will be back Monday at 12 p.m. Eastern. Have a fantastic weekend. Happy Pride to all of those who are celebrating out in the streets for the final weekend of Pride.
Isn't this the 10-year anniversary? Isn't today the 10-year anniversary of Obergefell? It's today.
Is it today?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, well, then somebody's going to take my gay card. All right. Amazing. All right. Bye, folks. Bye, Waj.